Hi guys, Mindstone here, and today I will be talking about a new, well, not a new deck, but it's a deck that has been around for a little bit of time, but it's had a significant upgrade in Knights of the Frozen Throne. This deck is Jade Druid, and we're going to just go into the list that I'm using, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. So first of all, we are using Innovate. Innovate is an auto-include almost any Druid deck, just because it lets you pay one card, get 2 mana. Super strong. Not much to say about that. It's just a good card. We're gonna have it. Next up, Jade Idol. This is the bread and butter of Jade Druid because it lets us either summon a Jade Golem for 1 mana, which is pretty good, and we can even shuffle 3 Jade Idols into our deck with the card. So that way we don't get the Jade Golem, but we get more Jade Golems for later, which is really what makes this deck go infinite. So you never run out of value. You never go to fatigue. Because you just simply extend your deck with Jade Idols, and that's really nice. So yeah, that's in there too. Then we got Double Wild Growth. This is for getting more mana faster, so we can do more things. Pretty self-explanatory in any slow Druid deck. Then we've got Wrath, and 2 of them. Just super flexible removal. Doesn't cost a lot. Shut down aggro a little bit. At least helps us manage that. Yeah. Yeah. So obviously, that one's in there too. Okay, yeah. Feral Rage. This card is we get armor or we kill things. It's not like mandatory anyway, but it's fairly good. So we're going to be having that in our deck. You could swap one copy if you don't like it, but I think it's pretty good. We've got Jade Blossoms, and these are again as for Wild Growth for getting more mana, and they summon Jades, so nothing could be better. Then we've got Fandral Stackhelm in the deck. He's for all the choose one effect to get more powerful. We already mentioned Wrath and Feral Rage, but we also have Nourish and Malfurion the Pestilent. I don't think I'm missing anything, am I? Yeah, I don't know. And Jade Idol. So yeah, we mentioned a few, and these are just really powerful when we duplicate them. So that's why we're running Fandral, just as a catalysator for these. With running Jade Spirits, again, that's self-explanatory when we have Jades. Decent Druid. Then we've got Spellbreaker, which is sort of an oddball inclusion. It's actually a tech card, so it's when we're meeting a lot of paladins or other classes that really require silence for something. In the paladin case, it's because they have all these buffs like Spike Steed and Blessed Kings, and maybe they have Tryon too. Most likely they have Tryon too. So we want to silence these things, especially because we can't actually just remove them with hard removal, because we don't have any of that. We don't have any available, at least none that are good enough to be included. So therefore we run Spellbreaker. If you like Iron Beak Owl a little bit better, you can run that too. But I like Spellbreaker quite a lot. So yeah, I'm running that. Then we've got Swipe. I think that's obvious in almost any Druid deck. It's good removal, and yeah, we like that. Helps us manage aggro decks. Also acts as a little finisher. Sometimes you can actually do surprisingly much damage from hand with this deck. With double Swipe and double Feral Rage. So that should be kept in mind. Then we've got Harrison Jones. This is another tech card. It's just for the weapon classes and well, it's for all the weapon classes and for Atish from Medivh. Yeah, it's a good tool. You could play an Ooze in here instead, but that would only be if there's a lot of aggression going on. Then the Acidic Swamp Ooze or Gluten Ooze would be better. But in the case that, in what I'm seeing, it's better to just get some cards out of Harrison than it is to have more tempo out of the Oozes. Yeah. So, double Nourish, card draw, mana crystals, pretty self-explanatory. We want that. The fun thing about the deck is that the more card draw we get, the faster we ramp up our Jade Idols. So we just want to stuff in all the card draw we have to some extent, obviously, and then just have more Jades. So yeah, Nourish is self-explanatory that way. Then we've got Spreading Plague. This card is actually one of the new cards, and it's fairly strong. It helps you when you're behind by filling up the board with 1/5 taunts, which is actually quite significant. You wouldn't think so, but it is. I don't like running two of them because you don't want to sit with them against matchup where you want to be putting things on the board because then they don't do anything. But I like one for aggro. So if I know I'm going up against some very aggressive deck, let's say there's a lot of Pirate Warrior on the ladder or a lot of Token Druid, then I'm going to mulligan one of them. At least I could consider that, or I'm just going to hope to top deck it early because it's a really strong card for just blocking out aggressive decks, especially decks that go wide on the board. So yeah, you could run a second one if you really like it and you face a lot of wide aggression. But I think one is good enough usually. Then we've got Eye of Black Pole, which is obviously only Jade deck. 2 Jades, 1 card, yes please. Yeah. Then Jade Behemoth. Taunts Jades, that means staying alive and getting more Jades. Also super self-explanatory. We've got Malfurion the Pestilent, which is another new card. This is actually the hero card for the Druid. It seems quite underwhelming at first glance, at least to me it did. But it's proven itself to be quite strong actually. Not amazing, you can definitely swap it for a lot of other things, but it's fairly good. First of all, it has a lot of synergy with the Fandral, because the hero power and the battle cry can, well, be duplicated by Fandral, if I may say so. The flexibility is actually really good too, that you can either take hard removal in the form of poisonous spiders, or you can take taunts, scarabs from the Malfurion. So you get a lot of flexibility there, and the hero power is fairly good. Being able to either play as a control warrior almost and just armor up against aggro deck, or actually taking the other part of the hero power and dealing 3 damage with your hero every turn. So it's quite a significant upgrade actually from the original hero power. So I'm fairly happy about it, and I think he is quite strong. And definitely deserves a spot there. Then we've got Primordial Drakes, big fat taunts, and they have board clear. This deck actually has quite a big problem clearing the board. There's not really anything like Flame Strike or Twisting Net or anything big which can really wipe the board. So you're going to struggle against wide aggression usually. And this is why Primordial Drake is such a good card, because it really deals nicely with that wide aggression. Yeah, it's like, I just feel like they do a lot of things in there. They also provide a good way to beat Priest actually, because Priest just doesn't have the tools to deal with them most of the time. At least they're going to be doing it very inefficiently. So therefore they are quite strong. Against controlling opponents, they just act as big fatties. So they're 4/8 and they've got taunt, that's really it. If they do 2 damage to something, that's usually pretty good. Then the big MVP of the deck, which is the Ultimate Infestation. This card is absolutely bonkers. If you play this after you're almost running out of cards, you just feel like you're winning the game if you're just kind of even before you play it. It's so disgusting. Because usually you're going to be playing it like, you kill something which has 5 health, you gain 5 level, you play a 5/5, and all these things are fairly good. You don't really lose tempo now, which, 10 mana for that is maybe a little not so good, but then just drawing 5 cards just means you can refill everything next turn. It's very common to play Ultimate Infestation and then actually play Jade Spirit and Jade Behemoth afterwards. At least that's something I like to do a lot, because it usually just fills the board and puts a lot of pressure on the opponent. Of course, depending upon what the situation is. But you're often going to just reload your hand completely. This card is actually what has caused the deck to drop the Auctioneers, because you simply don't need them anymore. You have enough card draw now. And it's just a lot less clunky than Auctioneer. We could also, I've been cutting Earthen Scales too from the deck, simply because we don't have Auctioneer, we don't need it. We have Ultimate Infestation and Feral Rage, and that's about enough ammo. Also, Malfurion gets us some, so that's pretty good. Yeah, but that's about the deck. I think now we'll jump into some example games. Yeah, so here we are, jumping into a game. Yeah, got it. Not really much to say about the loading screen. It's about, we're really hoping to have a nice matchup here, obviously, but the deck performs kind of evenly most matchups, so yeah, not much to say to it. Okay, So getting the wild growth is really good, and we're gonna keep on Wrath too. I think we're gonna throw Nourish. Doesn't really feel like that good to play. So this hand is not amazing. We got some fairly bad cards. They're defensive here. And we don't really need defensive cards at this stage of the game. And we're going to be looking for a ramp mostly. Usually you just keep Innovate, Jade Idol, Wild Growth, Wrath, Aid Blossom, and occasionally Jade Spirit. But nothing else, I think. Here we could coin the Wild Growth, but I think we're just going to keep it. Just because we don't really have anything to play on 3 anyways, so we don't get anything for doing it. Okay, so we're going to be facing a mirror, and he's been hitting a lot of ramp, so this is not very good for us. We can play it, but it's hard. We also have Spellbreaker and Harrison, which is sort of a disadvantage. Because these cards don't really help us in that era. Spellbreaker can be okay because we can silence Aya, but still, it's not very good. And as you see, he's at 7 mana now. I'm going to be 6 mana next turn, so I'm going to be constantly a little bit behind on mana if he keeps developing quickly. And now we don't have the Spellbreaker, and the Aya is hitting us, which is really a big problem. What do we do here? I think Primordial Drake is correct. Yeah, so that was a little mistake I made there. We're just trying to reduce his immediate board presence while we're trying to get to our ultimate infestation. Right now we're really looking to just keep our Jades coming. Okay, and now seeing him play Ultimate Infestation, we can almost be well, he played Nourish for mana. We can almost be sure then that he is sitting with Ultimate Infestation in hand, ready to play it. There's not much we can do about it. We just have to accept that this is not going our way right now. And as you see, this just feels completely unfair. Having him fill up his hand, having a 5/5. Without giving us any sort of way to go back into this. Problem is, he's going to have 2 turns now where we can't really develop anything because we have no cards and no Jades. Well, yeah, we'll have nothing. I can play Jades, and simultaneously we don't we'll have anything we can draw with next turn. So we're going to be a few turns behind here. We can play Primordial Drake next turn, but it's probably not going to be enough. With a little luck, he picks the spiders that are poisonous, so we can Primordial Drake those away. Yeah, there we go. And actually, we're lucky enough for him to play Dark Reaper, which is a little bit of a liability in the mirror. So, at least that's some sort of remorse for us. Here we go with a great Primordial Drake, potentially buying us a ticket back in the game, but I'm not quite sure about it yet. Luckily, his next Jade Golem is going to be a 5/5, and Ultimate Infestation deals 5 damage, so we might have a way out there. And we haven't played our own Aya yet, which is also an advantage, because that means we have that very high tempo play still available to us. And he doesn't really seem to play any Jades right now, which is also a huge advantage, because we're not actually being well, out-tempoed that badly. Yeah, so we just have to do the ultimate infestation here. We're killing his minion because we have to do it anyway. The base damage is not that valuable. But now we have Aya, which is super important because it means 2 Jade Golems, and we might actually be able to have bigger Jade Golems than him. If we get bigger Jade Golems, that means that well, our Jade Golems can kill his Jade Golems without dying, and maybe kill even more Jade Golem, or hit his face. So we really want to be ahead on Jade Golems. And attacking my ghoul there, I think, was a great mistake. And we're going to punish that. Also, playing the Lich King seems a little bit risky in this deck. Simply because you don't need it. He doesn't really do that much for you, so it just seems unnecessary. He's okay though, just because he's such a strong card. But now we're actually having a little bit of a tempo advantage. And if he doesn't get something insane going this turn, we can very much snowball that advantage with Nourish to get some cards for us to play.
A tangled web.
We don't even have to get rid of any cards in our hand before playing Nourish next turn. That's pretty nice.
My thoughts are plagued.
But actually, I'm a bit happy to show this matchup because now it's not only me who's showing this deck, but I'm actually getting to show an alternate version of it and by playing against it. So that's quite interesting somehow. So the Spellbreaker doesn't really do a lot here. We're just going to draw cards. See what we can get. This is our last Jade Idol. We have to shuffle that into our deck. But we definitely do want to play that Jade Behemoth also. And now we're actually having a fairly good tempo advantage. And the really important advantage we have now is that his next Jade Golem is going to be 5/5. That Golem will die to our 6/6 Jade Golem. And the Jade Golem will stay in play. That is insanely important. And for us. However, if he draws a lot of cards, now he might be able to play a lot of Jade Golems and thereby pull ahead. Even though I don't really believe in it. Especially not now, when his card draw takes 5 mana to have going. But he does have some fairly good trading going for him there. So we've only seen one Primordial Drake, and therefore I don't really want to play Malfurion yet, because the Poisonous Scarabs are going to be a lot better if we wait with him. Instead, I think we're just going to develop like that. So we're getting a lot of small minions out. The Spellbreaker doesn't really matter anymore because we already saw Aya, so there's nothing good for us to silence. So emptying our hand a little bit to free up for Nourish and Ultimate Infestation is pretty nice. Yeah, there we go. So now he does Nourish. Now he's likely to develop 1 or 2 Jade Idols to try to get some tempo back. However, these are not going to be all that big, so we're probably going to get some fairly advantageous trades. And even beyond that, we actually have a board which threatens for lethal, and we have 8 damage in hand, so there's a good chance we might actually be able to put him down in 1 or 2 turns. But I think the really important factor of this matchup was the turns where we had Ultimate Infestation, Primordial Drake, and he didn't really do all that much. So he didn't develop that advantage. And we sort of got back with the Ultimate Infestation and started playing Jades. The Eye was a huge dropout. So that meant that we really sort of turned the game and went into a proactive spot. And from there, we just kind of won the game. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the gameplay, and I will see you in my next video.